Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Dude, it is coaching carousel season, and this has been a wild one at every single level. NFL, how many jobs are open? 10?
10.
There's 32 teams.
Yep, 1/3.
A third of them college, a ton of jobs changing over. A lot of them getting pulled up to the NFL. There's a really funny situation that might play out in my backyard back here where two coaches quit their jobs and swap schools. Like the schools are going to hire each other's coaches. So much craziness this offseason. So it's been fun to watch the coaching carousel.
I feel like we have a later hiring. It just feels like things just happen later here. I just not much as, and I'm not as much in it in the local scene as I used to be. So I don't know much about it, but
it's
you're not interested in any of the jobs. You don't really pay attention to who gets them.
The internet and the ability to internet and find jobs has made it just buck wild. So it's fun. Power Minute. Want to remind you guys, the 425 clinic in Boston is quickly approaching. It is, as we're recording, this is February the 3rd. We are whopping, like 6 weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks away. 5 weeks away.
When this comes out, we'll be a month off.
Yeah.
Out. Almost exactly a month out.
So March 13, 14. If you haven't already, sign up. Remember that, once again, as this comes out, you have missed, unfortunately, the cutoff for the group rate rooms. There's still plenty of rooms available down there. You just give me a call. If you're still trying to sign up for it, holler at me. Let me work back through my channels. So email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com, and I will work through our travel person who's setting all that up. See if we can't extend the rooms by a day or two. Anyway, and then the early bird price is just 3 days away from when this comes out on the 12th. So don't miss out on the early bird pricing. There's no reason to spend more money to come to this thing just because you waited to buy your tickets.
Go ahead and get it.
There you go. There's your excessively fair warning. But I'm pumped about it. Hope you guys have gotten good travel plans. Hope the weather hangs in there for us and all things are good. I'm excited to see Con. Brady Bradbury's coming up to talk a little bit. Of course, Joe going to be the head man there. I will be talking a little bit as we bounce around. So it should be a really good time in Boston. Come check out the 425 clinic. Tonight, we were talking about changing a culture. Good one for this time of year. A lot of guys, we were just talking about the coaching carousel. A lot of guys changing jobs. A lot of guys taking up that one that they all think they can turn over or turn around, and it hasn't been done in 30 years. But by God, I'm going to do it. And yes, you are, Coach. Absolutely, you are.
You absolutely can. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit.
Absolutely. We're going to talk building confidence. We're going to talk about getting the players to buy into what you're doing and then setting expectations, preparing for adversity. Last week, we had a guest, first one in a long time, and we talked about being a teacher on the football field. That was with Coach Moshak, former active duty guy, and I think he's a guardsman now. I can't remember exactly how that went. But anyway, former military guys, and a coach nowadays. Next week, it's going to be how many plays to put in your offensive playbook, which will be a good one for you cats that are already landed your gig and you're trying to figure out what to do this year. That should be a great one. All right, Coach, before we roll here and pay the bills, here's your challenge. Don't just listen. Please share. If you've got someone in your circle who's chasing improvement, go find whatever you're watching this on, find the share button, send it out via text, DMs, put it on your Facebook page, your Twitter page, whatever it is. Share the knowledge, man. We're just here trying to help people. If you like it, I bet your friends do too. So make sure you're sharing the podcast. Joe, let's pay the bills real quick and we'll get into the conversation.
Yes, and we're talking about the topic today, breaking the losing cycle. We have an ebook that you can check out called Breaking the Losing Cycle. And you can go get that at joedanielfootball.com/breaking. And it's a short manual, 25 pages, something like that. Take 20-minute read. It just goes through some of the things that you need to know and you need to think about when you're trying to turn a program around, when you're trying to take that underdog team and break through. And I've worked with over 10,000 programs, and honestly, a majority of them are in that situation. They have been in that situation where either a team has been losing for years and years and years, or has hit a rough patch and is trying to recover from that. I mean, I talked to multiple coaches today alone who are in that situation, and they're trying to figure out how to break out of that, and they're coming to JDFB to make that happen. We have had tremendous success with it. I always tell coaches, when you come to JDFB, when you're the 0-10, the 1-9, 2-8, 3-7, that is the wheelhouse at JDFB, because, and I mentioned it already, that is the low hanging fruit to me, because there is so much that can be done. And we know so much about those teams and how to fix those problems. And Daniel's seen it. We've seen plenty of teams do it. We've had coaches on the podcast who have done it through JDFB. So if you want to get the start on how to break that losing cycle, listen to this podcast and then go download joedanielfootball.com/breaking. Get the Breaking the Losing Cycle ebook, free manual there. Again, joedanielfootball.com/breaking. Or you can just go to the homepage at joedanielfootball.com, click on the guides button at the top, and you'll see all of our guides that we have there.
Love it. Talk about athletic speed and movement. Athletic speed and movement. Man, try to shorten it, and I have to say it 3 times. Speed doesn't lie. It exposes weakness. It creates separation, and it wins games. But here's the question. Are your kids fast enough to change the game? Real speed is not born. It is built. At Athletic Speed and Movement, we don't guess, we train. With methods developed by Del Basquette, used at the highest levels of football, and it will work at your level regardless of where you're at. We help athletes get faster, more explosive, and game ready. Doesn't matter where you start. Only 2 questions you got to ask is, can you commit? And what are you going to do with all the extra speed on the field? Visit athleticspeedmovement.com. Speed wins. Be the reason your team wins. What a closing line.
Talk about somebody that believes in what they do. As you know, I talk to Dale on almost a weekly basis, and usually it's about, more business side of things, but there's no way to get through a conversation with Dale without him just taking the time to explain to you why this works, why this is better than what everybody else does, why he's seen it over and over again, and just, we talked about systems and belief and the importance of belief in your systems. And I bought into Dale Basquette's system because, my head coach bought into Dale Basquette's system a long time ago, flew Dale in. I didn't believe in it. All of us thought it was goofy. And then he has such a knowledge, a vast knowledge, that when you hear it, you buy in, because the belief is built in this, just first of all, the proof of how much he's done it, how many teams he's worked with, and all of that, but also his knowledge and his belief and the way that he sells it to you and portrays it to you. And it's just that's what we talk about with belief in a system. It's you find somebody like that, like I found with Bill Mountjoy, found with Dale Basquette. It's you find somebody that believes in something like that, you can buy into a system.
For sure.
And that wraps up our system episodes.
Pretty easy to do. And for your stuff as well, Joe, same thing. You hear somebody talk about it enough with just that gusto, that this is going to work. Easy to build that belief. Speaking of building belief and confidence, that's what we're talking about in part 1 tonight. So, Joe, why don't you kick us off here? Let's just talk about building confidence in your players. Kind of how can you go about doing that, and benefits of it, and all the good things when we talk about changing over a culture here.
I think that when we come into a school that is stuck in that losing cycle where they can't seem to break out, and anybody who's been in it knows what it feels like, and you might feel like you're the only place that it's ever been that way, and these kids just don't know how to win. And that's the kind of things you hear. These kids don't know how to win. They don't know how to fight. They're so close. We're so close. We're not talking about the team that's just bad at football because they have no athletes. That's not the case in most places. Very few places. Very few. I always talk to the 0-10 coaches. I say there's two types of 0-10 teams, and I've seen both. Number one is the team that is 0-10 because you literally have so much lesser athletes that, you're 4 touchdowns worse than everybody on the schedule. It happens. And we help those teams to be competitive. And then they start to get some more athletes out, and then but it's a longer dig. Most of them will admit to you, we had a few close games that we should have won. And so there's teams that we could beat if we fixed this thing. And the thing is, when you come into that losing tradition and that losing cycle, the easiest way to identify it, the old coaches call it the loser's limp, right? It's that as soon as We see it in the NFL still to this day. It's just a human thing. Like these, and the guys in the NFL, none of them are losers, right? But you see a guy fumble a ball, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Dang, I'm hurt." It's like, "Are you?" You fumbled the ball. But like it's that things are going well. You come out. I'll give you an example. The last school that I was at, I remember the COVID year. They played spring 2021, and so we're coming in 2022 fall 2021 season. And so I'm looking at the film, which is literally just a few months ago, and they lost every game by blowouts. The last game they won 40-30. Every other game they got just blown out. And now a lot of the schools are bigger than them because they had to play a condensed schedule and weren't able to schedule kind of, the schools around were bigger schools, but so it was a tough schedule for sure. But almost every one of those games, maybe every single one of those games, they would come out in the first series and even, the first couple series. And you're like, how do they get blown out? Moving the ball down the field, then they fumble. Or they stop them 3 and out, and then they fumble the punt or something. It was always, and then there was that moment when the wheels came off. And we fought that. We came in the next year and we went 4-6, but there was still that obvious. And I don't know that I'd say it's still there really.
Yeah.
We never completely got out of it, in that you were fighting, constantly fighting. Things are going well. Something bad happens. Here we go. Same old, insert whoever you are. Same old team, same old losers. That's the losing cycle. That's the one you can't break. And you look at all the other things that are around that of, guys don't want to come out to play for us. We hear coaches say it's a basketball school, it's a baseball school, it's a this, it's a that. All the reasons that kids don't want to come out. All kids don't come to the weight room. They don't want to work. They don't want to do this. They don't understand what it takes. Blah, 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 blah. We have all these different things, but what it comes down to is that at the end of the day, they don't believe that any of this is going to matter, because they have no confidence in themselves and in their ability to change it. And so the thing that is so important here is, and we talked about it in our system episode a couple episodes ago, talking about the importance of systems, is that belief. And it's not that you need to build the best. It's never the scheme. And guys say, well, it was the scheme for us because we changed to insert whatever here. We changed to JDFB 425 defense. We changed to the gun T. We changed to the air raid. We changed to the double wing. We changed to whatever. You can insert anything there. And I will argue that what changed was somewhere in there where you got that from, you gained belief. Yourself and your staff was all bought into the system. The belief in the system went into the players. You got a better understanding of it. The way that you taught it, the kids understood it better and started to believe they could do it. And that's all confidence. And so it's never the X's and O's themselves. You can screw it up with the X's and O's, but you don't fix it with the X's and O's. You fix it with, it's never going to be, always the question of like, what would you run if you had this, or what would you run? That's not the thing.
Yeah.
It is, how do we build the confidence of these kids up to believe that they can do something that the teams before them couldn't do, that the players that they grew up watching, that they were looking up to. Because I don't know if it's the same as it was maybe when I was growing up, but I I grew up looking up to the guy when I was on the 7th grade team. I was looking up to the guys on the varsity team. They were huge, right? They were enormous, these larger than life, like, and they, I didn't know there were 16, 17-year-old kids. To me, they were these just like men going out there to war every Friday night. And I'm out there in my middle school jersey, at the game. And I'm like, look at these guys. But they didn't win if you're in a place like that.
Right.
And so how do you convince these guys that they can do things that have never been done there before? And you've got to build that belief, you've got to build that confidence, and it's just everything has to be built around that. And that's the Coach Simple philosophy, which I know is something that we talked about at the beginning of this season. So go back a couple episodes. The Coach Simple philosophy, that is the whole deal, is just whatever you're doing has to come back to keep it simple so they understand what they're being asked to do. When they understand what they're being asked to do, they know their job, they believe they can do it. That builds confidence. Confidence is the difference maker. Confident players play fast.
I love your little, I'm going to use diatribe because I heard it earlier. I've been waiting to use it and it's perfect here. But about the team whose wheels fall off, right? Like,
yeah,
they're in a game, snowball effect, they are blown out. I was watching film on a somewhat local school just the other day, and they're taking on like a traditional powerhouse. They go up 12-0. They have the other team at the tipping point, right? And you can see it even in the film. It's
yes.
well, actually, I had to I screen recorded the live stream, so you can actually see in the stadium like it's happening, right? And then quarterback throws one interception, and it goes for a pick six, and that was kind of all she wrote. I don't think anything ever clicked again. Like in a season where I think they end up winning, somewhere between 0 and 4 games overall in that season. I know exactly how many they won. I'm just trying to be a little bit sneaky here and not tell people who it is, but they had a chance to really stun and shock the world there. Right? We've talked to Colin about shocking the world before, I think, on the podcast or not, but they have a chance, but they dropped it, right? You just lose it because the confidence wasn't there.
Yeah.
And you're in a battle with those guys and you got them on the ropes, but you lose to teams that are so much less talented in the same year because that lack of confidence, it just isn't there. So
I remember I was at Prince George, which is long losing tradition. We had gotten to my first year as defensive coordinator. We went 5-5, and that was the best record they'd had in 5 or 6 years. And the next year we went 4-6. And that was my fault. I overcomplicated everything. This was my second year as defensive coordinator. My first year, we should have been way better than 5-5. My second year should have been even more, way better. There was one reason we wouldn't, and that was on the other side of the ball with a player. But we lost a legit Division I running back that probably could have covered up some of my mistakes. Right. But the thing was, after that year, that was when I went to Ellsworth. And so I went to Ellsworth for a year and finished top 25 in the country, or finished 9th in the country, finished top 10 in the country, number 1 ranked offense, top 25 defense in NJCAA. And so I was in Iowa learning how to win and learning what winning looked like. Now, I didn't love everything about what winning looked like, but I knew what it felt like. And I knew what that confidence, even though we lost to Tony Anese's team 77-56.
Basketball on grass, huh?
Yeah, at least we had somebody else to blame for that one. But I knew, and by the way, Iowa Western was also the turning point for them. They were a new program, and they beat us. But I'm out there learning the confidence of winning and knowing what it looks like to win. And since I'd been gone, there was a new head coach who's one of my best friends now, but he had come in with nothing. The best player on the team was a freshman. They went 0-10. And so when I come back the next year, I moved back, and that was the job that I ended up falling into. And I remember I wasn't there for all that, so I didn't know the 0-10. I left the 5-5, 4-6 on the brink. We are on the brink, and we are on the edge of breaking through. And I'm coming back to this, seeing some of the young kids who were promising young kids in the weight room, and now they're sophomores and they're juniors, and I'm seeing these kids that are growing up, and I'm knowing what I thought they were going to be, and I went back and I missed that whole year.
Yeah.
And that year shattered them. Not the fault of the head coach. There was just nothing. Cupboard was bare. Everybody was young, and that year shattered them straight back to 14-game losing streak from a few years before, from when they were seventh graders, right? And so everything that we had built gets just crushed because of a bad season, of a bad, they just didn't have anybody. And so I'm there, and I'm still getting my bearings, and we're in like week 2, week 3, and I'm still figuring out. I didn't even have like a major role. I don't even know what my role was. I wasn't a coordinator. I literally just I got hired like mid-August. So I had to pass some math practice too. So I remember the quarterback had been a young running back before, and it was like kind of a tweener JV varsity. It was like a freshman, was like getting called to varsity type of thing. And now he's playing quarterback, and he's playing quarterback because he's the best athlete, right? Because they didn't have somebody fit in that role. And we are in a game with a team, and I don't remember who the team was, but we're in a game with a team that I think, looking at film, we're better than. And we're in this game, and we're winning this game. I mean, we're winning this game like 21-0 or something like that. I mean, we're winning the game. And I can't remember if he threw an interception, he threw a pick or something like that. And this was a mature kid. This wasn't. I've had kids who were just head cases. This was a mature kid who could handle things. But I can't remember if it was a pick or a fumble, but he did it. And he was the quarterback. And he melted.
Yeah.
Melted. And everything, I mean, I just remember coaches are coming, like putting their arm around him, and he's like, no, it's just, I mean, he's like crying tears. It's like, it's 21-7.
We're fine.
We're winning. It was done. It was done. And it's like, and it took a decade to get out of that. I mean, it took a decade to get out of that, because like I said, that was the team we got to 5-5, and we should have been 7-3, but the stay in coverage, I had 2 stay in coverage games that season, which is why, and like, that's the kind of things that happen when you're right there, that don't happen when you're already there.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so hard. And I didn't know, we hadn't figured out how to break out of that. It took a long time to learn that. And that's what that losing cycle looks like. It's just brutal.
One more thing, and then we'll move on in the second point. But you talked about it isn't the X's and O's, right? It's not the scheme. I think that there is, when you're talking confidence, people just naturally have confidence in things they have seen that work. There are a lot of flex bone dudes out there because they've seen it work. My experience was it's the worst offense I've ever seen. It is really good against a couple teams that can't line up against it. And as soon as anyone has any inkling of an idea, you're done for. And you're playing from about when it's 0-0, it's actually -14-0 because you just can't do anything with it. That's my perspective because that's all I've seen. I don't believe that system. There's a lot of guys out there that are probably ready to fight me. It's okay, right? Yeah. The systems I've seen that were successful, the gun T, other 12 like pistol power offense variations, right? Where you're more power counter instead of buck, but same stuff, 12 personnel type stuff. The Owasso and Bixby systems. And I would go to bat for any of those, any of them. You won't call me and say, hey, what should I get? Probably I would tell you go get gun T or pistol power offense. That's the 2 I'm going to tell you to go get, because you can't really buy the Bixby stuff. You can buy some of the tags, but you can't really buy the system. And I don't know that Bill sells anything. So you're probably not finding El Wasso stuff. But it's just 11P 1-back power. Like they run 1-back power instead of 2-back power, even though there's 2 backs. Yeah. So that's it. Anyway, my point is, I think the system does matter, but it isn't a certain system. It's just whatever one you can believe in. Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably believe in Joe Daniel football. Get the pistol power offense and install it, and then make it your own. We talk all the time about evolution. Evolve it into things you believe in. If you're a zone read guy, install zone read. Like, it doesn't matter. If you like RPOs, I love RPOs. I'm a firm believer in them. I'm going to install them everywhere I go until they trend so far down that people have just got the answers every play, and then they're not useful anymore. Anyway, so I think it is the system, but not because of it wins. It's because you believe in it. You've studied it. You know how to make it operate and how to make it work. You trust the answers, right?
Yep.
So it just goes back to a couple weeks ago. We're talking about belief. The second piece is really the same thing, but how do we get our players to buy in? So we kind of already talked about building confidence in them and themselves, and maybe we actually mix these up a little bit, but getting them to believe in themselves is one thing. Showing them, hey, here's your progress in the weight room, right? That's a huge confidence booster. Get them in the freaking weight room. Let them hit those milestones. Take them to other competitions. Let them run track where they can go win some races or come in really close and maybe not win it. I had an interview the other day, and a guy asked me, and he was the powerlifting coach, and I guess previous coaches at this place did not like powerlifting. What were my, and I was like, I love it. I understand in Oklahoma, it's really just a small school thing now. The big schools don't really do it. I think it's because they've all specialized a bunch. And so it's like, you're not going to go power lift when you're a football player or when you're a baseball player or when you're you're not going to do it. Anyway, I'm talking about love it. I don't love that it fundamentally changes kids the way, you're into big 3 lifts instead of making your whole body athletic, but it comes with territory. I like kids competing. And that was kind of where he wanted to go with it as well, is when they walk out on the field and they know they're the strongest person in the district because they just beat all those dudes, 6 months ago at a powerlifting meet, like that does something for them. So it gives you some confidence in themselves. Anyway, how do we get players to buy in to what we're doing when we go into this place and we're slowly changing the culture, not trying to culture shock anyone?
There's certainly the things that traditionally, we talk about the weight room, obviously, getting kids lifting more and their bodies change and they're seeing their numbers increase. And, you know, kids don't understand that everybody else is doing what they're doing because this is the only place they've ever been. Now that's going to change apparently, but
Jesus.
that's for most of our kids, this is the only place they've ever been and they've never seen other teams in the way that they work. And we know that a lot of schools are doing that, but if they're getting in the weight room, another thing is things like speed training and seeing, we're getting faster and you can feel it. That's what I love about the thing I love about the basket system is it doesn't rely on, gimmick stuff that I don't think matters. I don't think miles per hour matters. I don't think 40 time matters. It's nothing against those things. I just don't think that they matter ultimately. And one of the things that basket system does is our kids literally they can feel it. They can feel their running mechanics getting better. They can see it. They can feel it. They can see how this works. So they feel faster and they feel like they can move better on the field. They feel like they're quicker. Those off-season things are important and they're all part of the package. That said, I don't know that you can come in and do them all. You should do them all, but they don't have the same, it's hard to stack all of these things in a way. You want to stack them, but doing 19,000 things doesn't build confidence, right? They don't get more confident because they're faster and stronger and all these things. It's just like that's all part of the deal. Same thing like if you go out and you win a bunch of 7-on-7 tournaments, right? If you go out and do that stuff, all of that stuff is great. It starts to build confidence. My only problem with that is that confidence can get busted real fast on a football field because it's not football confidence. You can go all of a sudden like, oh, I guess all that didn't matter. They can get punched in the mouth real quick, and you got to be careful about, that type of thing. You should do it all, except the 7-on-7. I hate it. I mean, you should do enough, but don't build your season around it. Like I see guys out there trying to win 7-on-7 tournaments by running a totally different passing offense. It's like, don't do that.
I think Kenny last year went to one and with his gun T stuff, and that's just so funny to me, right? Can you
I loved it.
a tight end wing, a couple of receivers.
we played I remember it was Tab High School. They were a wing T, and they came to a 7-on-7 tournament, and they ran, waggle over and over and over again. And I was like, this is great. We beat the brakes off of them, but it was fantastic because,
right.
I'm just so happy that they're out here running like their actual passing offense. I was like, good for them. So one of the opportunities that we had coming into that 2021 season to a school with a long losing tradition was we had to figure out, because this was a school that is a very small community and they weren't risking it. And we had a lot of surrounding counties that are very big counties that were willing to risk it. And so our opponents, many of their weight rooms were open and our weight room was closed. And my head coach got hired in May. Because remember, spring season didn't end until May.
Right.
So it doesn't come in until May. And so and the weight room shut down. Then the weight room opened, and then there was an outbreak, and then the weight room shut down again. The weight room was open for a total of a month. So we got a little bit of speed, but not all of it. We got not much, if any, weight training, less than everyone else. So the issue that you have, and this was like the third head coach in 4 or 5 years, fourth head coach in 5 years, something like that. So here's the issue that you have to get buy-in in that situation. And I remember standing there, and again, it's one of my best friends, and he's up there and he's the head coach. And I'm standing in the back of the room, and he's addressing this group of young men with the this is the way things are going to be now in our program, and this is what we're going to do speech. And I'm standing there and I'm listening to it. And I know he knows this. He finished the speech. We walked into the office, and I said, "That's the fourth time they've heard that speech." He said, "I know. I just feel like we have to, it's like what we have to do. Got to say it. But that's the fourth time they've heard the things are going to be different this time speech." Not only that, a couple of those coaches came in and won a couple games, and then, the wheels fell off.
Stepping stone, or
I mean, it's hard. It's a hard place to win. It's a hard place to win. And so it's even harder now because they used to not know they had good kids. Now they know, and they come get them. So what I believe happened there, we had a very small coaching staff, and especially in year one, but even in year two, we got some new coaches, but we got some really good coaches in. There's no bad coaches. There was no, maybe me. There was no bad coaches. Everybody there was on the same page. Everybody there was speaking the same language. There's only, 5 coaches between JV and varsity. And everybody's speaking the same language. And everybody's bought in. And all the words that they're hearing and all the things that we're doing, I believe that, and I watched it. I know I watched it with the offensive line. And I watched it with the defense over the next year, and especially the next couple of years. I watched them buy in because I really believe this. And I know a lot of the coaches that were there before, and they're good football coaches. And I don't think that they did anything wrong. I think it's a hard place to win. Again, I just don't think many of them were there. I think if they'd been there longer, some of them would have broken through. But I believe very strongly in this, and people don't like to hear it, but you've heard me say it 1,000 times. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's bullcrap. It's bullcrap. That's what every other coach does. Every other coach wants to be their friend. And there's a lot of really good relationship builders at really bad schools. And everybody says it's about relationships. It's about relationships for the coaches who know how to coach. But if you just have relationships, you have a bunch of guys that really like their head coach and are really sorry he got fired. And so the first thing that you have to do is get all your crap straight. And so this is where system matters. And this is why changing your system sometimes works, is because you change the system because whatever you were doing before wasn't working. And you just go, whatever we were doing before wasn't working. We tried to do our own thing and it didn't work. So we're going to go full on with this guy and do exactly what he says. And nobody dare better say any word that's not in this system. And all of a sudden your kids buy in because you're saying all the same words, and everybody's on the same page, and you're telling the kids these things, and you sound like you know what you're talking about. And the kids go, "Oh, this guy knows stuff." This guy is teaching me the things that are going to make me a better football player. And we're running drills that actually have a purpose and not just stuff that he saw on YouTube last night. We're doing things, and he can tell me why every single one of these drills works. And he can show me on film how this drill works. And I know when I'm doing it, I can feel that it's working. And when it happens in practice, he goes, there, see it, there, we got it. And it's clicking with me. And we're building practice plans that go from installing this drill and teaching this drill and working this drill, and then working it in an inside drill or an outside drill and working it in a group drill. And then we go to team and we go to a team run and we see it, and work it, and it works, and we see it and we build and we build and we build. And then I'm executing this drill on Friday night and this thing actually works. We call this play, and I know why we have this play, and I know how this play is supposed to work, and I know the purpose behind it, I know the thought behind it, and I understand everything that we're doing, and I understand all this stuff. And I understand, not only do I understand what we're doing, but the guys who are calling the plays and the guys that are back there and the guys that are teaching me this stuff, they know what the crap they're doing. And I have confidence in them and I believe in them. And that's when things change. They don't care how much you care until they know how much you know. And when you convince them that you can make them better football players, and you do it by not being an a-hole, and when you're not teaching football stuff, asking them about their life and learning about who they are as a person, you build the relationships. But make sure that they know that you know something about football and that you can teach something about football. And that's where you start to build buy-in. Buy-in is not a ropes course. Buy-in is not the weight room. That's not buy-in. And this is always constantly going to be challenged, because every time that you call a pass on third down instead of a run, and the guy up in the stands wanted you to call a run and it doesn't work, that buy-in gets chipped away at by their dad, by their mom, by the people in the stands, telling them this idiot doesn't know, even though that idiot is the one who doesn't know. That's the one they grew up with. So what are you going to do? So you are constantly having to rebuild this buy-in. And that's why you say, this is why I made this call. This is why we do this thing. And so if you have this stuff done and you know this stuff, if they knew, I talked with the coach today about that. One coach I called with today, and then I'm done on this. He said something about red zone offense. And I said, there's red zone offense plays, and we have things in our system, power offense system, that we love in the red zone. So the run game doesn't really change much as long as you keep the pass game open, but then we have some things that we can do. I said, but the thing about it is, you want to know that there's 2 or 3 play calls that you have, 2 or 3 pass play calls that you have in the red zone, that the kids know, God, if we're in the red zone and it's 3rd and 5, we know what the call is going to be, because we've worked red zone situation in practice every single week, and we work 3rd and 5, and we know what the play call is going to be. And so when you call that play call and it doesn't work, and the guy up in the stand goes, should have run, blah, 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 some play that's not even in your playbook because he doesn't know what he's talking about, the kids drown that out because they go, no, that was our 3rd and 5 call, man.
I gotta take the mic for a second.
I'm done.
When we were at Stillwell and they had won 4 games in 5 years, 3 games in 5 years, we went 5-5 that season. Could have been better. There's a couple games we could have gotten. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. Let's just be honest with ourselves. We go back and watch that film, and we're like, we were such terrible coaches. Like,
yeah.
I heard an old coach today. I went to a luncheon with all the retired and nearly retired coaches in Oklahoma, in Northeast Oklahoma, and Bill Blankenship was kind of leading it up. And one of the guys said, I need to write a letter to all those kids my first couple of years to apologize because I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I 100% here. But I can remember I think it was the end. Maybe we had a couple wins, a couple losses. We're 2-2 or 3-2. We've already matched, I think, the wins they had in 4 or 5 seasons. And this parent has the audacity to come and knock on the coach's door after a game and proceeds to tell the head coach I want to say it was 2 tight ends and a fullback. Y'all need to get 2 tight ends set, get a fullback in the game. And by God, then you'll be successful. Like, we've taken a team that has not done anything. You watched an 0-10 season last year and the year before that, and then we have 2 or 3 wins, and you're going to come tell us to change the offense. But so it just that one and the Bixby fans screaming at the Bixby coaches after halftime when they're up by 15 or 20 or whatever when I was at Owasso. I think they're on a 80 win streak or something. And they get it broke, and they're back in the middle of another 60 game win streak, and the parents like the game's handled. And they're screaming like, "Got to run the ball on third down," or what? Right? Like you're never gonna win the parent battle.
I was
The
9-0.
never.
I was 9-0. Lost the 10th game of the season to a team that had not lost a game in the district in a decade, and we lost it with a pass into the end zone. Not talking about a Hail Mary, like a reasonable distance pass into the end zone that had it been caught, we would have, I can't remember if we would have tied, we would have gone for 2. So we would have either lost, I think we were down 7. So we would either lost by 1 or won it. And that was the last play of the game. I was the dumbest coach on the planet. All of a sudden, out of nowhere.
I inflated some numbers. I don't want people think I'm stupid. I just had a 58 game win streak. They got broke. And then this would have been 2 years later. So they were right back in the middle of 20 or 30 or whatever. Like just the fans are anyway, fans are idiots.
But the point is, every night when they go home, in not every home, but in a lot of homes, your belief that you are constantly building is being chipped away
for sure.
And just accept it. It's the same everywhere. You don't have bad parents. You don't have, bad. It's the same everywhere. There's some place. There's a spectrum of better and worse, but there's nowhere that doesn't have any parents whose kids are coming home and going. I mean, look, I guarantee you that the IMG Academy or whatever, or the ones that, they're just beating the brakes off of everybody on their schedule. Who's Bishop Gorman, who has to play out of state just to find somebody that can give him a challenge, right? That's the way it was. I don't know if it still is, because they were just
Mater Day or D or
Mater Day, yeah.
Mater Day.
Yeah. And so these schools, they get home and they've got 9 Division I players, and every single one of their parents are sitting around the dinner table going, "Coach should be giving you the ball more." And the kid's going, "You're right, he should." And it's like, well, what about the other 9 Division I players that are all skill players?
Right. There's only one football.
The offensive line guys are like, you're playing Division I. Why aren't they running the ball to the left more? It's like, well, the guy on the right's playing Division I too. It's like, but they're all so it doesn't matter. It's getting chipped away at home. Your job, it's never over. It's never over. But your job is to build that belief. And it's, I don't know if this was the case, if it just wasn't an issue in the 60s and 70s. And I can't say, because I never questioned my coaches. That just wasn't, and my dad wasn't. My dad never quit. My dad always supported my coaches. My dad always thought, but my dad also probably knew like it's just a blessing that my kids get to be on this field.
Right.
Like, so, but I know that there were people around me whose parents certainly did, and were bad. And I mean, some of them were in the stand, and I could hear them. And I remember guys on the sideline could hear their dad, and we'd just look at them and be like, "Is your dad again?" And like, "I think he's drunk." I'm like, well, yeah. Sometimes they are, man. Sometimes they're drunk too, and that's the fun part as well. But you always see the parent with the big gulp. So the one with the big gulp is the problem. But unless you're winning, and then they hug you, and that's the whole different awkward thing. But yeah, I mean, you are constantly working to, like, just telling them my reason for going back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I don't know if it worked. I don't know if it really worked then, the way that maybe movies portray it. And coaches always say, like, back in my day, it wasn't this way. And I've been coaching for 25 years now, and it hasn't changed. It's been the same. It's really been the same to me. So maybe everything magically changed in 2002. I don't know. It's always felt the same to me, if I'm being completely honest about it. So, but you cannot just tell them this is the way it's going to be. You cannot just use that authority position to get them to buy in. It will not work. There are, and my theory is that there were fewer options, and so they just had to kind of put their head down and deal with it. It's kind of the Bud Kilmer thing in Varsity Blues. It's like, eventually there was a rebellion, but for years and years and years, we just went along with it, and he won because everybody just kind of dealt with the abuse, right? I don't think that you can get away with that really anywhere. There may be places that you can, but I remember you have to have something to hold over them. You can do it. I remember the two-a-days, and I don't put too much into this other than Rush Probst had a lot of other problems. But I remember the two-a-day show was on MTV, and I remember that Rush Probst, the thing was on camera, was like essentially holding scholarships over kids' heads. Well, if you don't have scholarship offers to hold over their heads, you better have something else, because otherwise you're gonna have to coach them like a real person. And so the way that we have to coach things today is we should have Rush Probst on the podcast just so we can talk and hang out. We'll be friends. I actually had a guy who worked with him, was one of our clients. I'm not wrong. The thing that you have to understand is we have to explain to these kids why we're doing these things, and that will build more buy-in for you. Now, it will open you up to being wrong sometimes. So you got to, it's a give and take, but like it's better than just not telling them anything.
Right. I don't really have a lot to add to getting players to buy in. I think you're right. The old, I love that we've changed it, from they don't know what you know, they don't care what you know until they know you care. I'm glad we've gotten, like you said, that matters if you've already proven you're a good football coach. If someone brings in you, if they bring you in because like this coach just won 5 state championships, a crosstown rival, and they like the kids, they know. If you're trying to prove it for the first time, they don't care how lovey-dovey you're going to be, right? Like they want someone to talk to, they want the relationship, but they want to know you're going to
football games.
That's right.
Yeah.
Last one here, setting expectations and preparing for adversity. I love the and preparing for adversity because we hear a lot of Sabanisms in this day and age because, he's the greatest to ever do it, right? And the standard.
Now that nobody respects Belichick anymore, yes.
Different levels. The greatest college coach to ever do it. Because Saban was okay in the NFL. But
now that everybody's taking everything away from Paterno, yes.
Yes, that's just everything. It happens.
Bear Bryant still exists. Still existed.
Right. Well, it would have been okay if Saban didn't go to his house and do the same stuff plus some. Maybe he's got a fighting chance. I don't know. How many championships did Bear Bryant have?
6.
See, they're like buddies. Okay, he probably just passed on the Dakota.
I can't remember which one. I think I could be wrong.
Anyway, but there's going to be adversity, and if you think that preaching the standard Monday through Thursday is going to make the standard matter
Saban's
on
great,
Friday,
I should mention that.
Do what?
I have nothing against Saban. I am absolutely kidding. I think he's great.
Yeah, no, of course. I think people understand.
And his coaching tree is incredible. So
yeah. Your posters and your stickers on the wall and your sayings throughout the week, they don't change anything on Friday night, right? And so you've got to have a plan for adversity. What are we going to do when this goes wrong? We've talked about the loser's limp and oh man, here it goes again. The heads drop. A fiery speech, maybe. I don't know what's in your toolbox, right? If you're a super good motivator, that's a whole thing on College Football 26, right? You can be the motivator coach. Like, weirdly enough, that game, I know it's stupid, but you can kind of start putting like, where am I as a coach, right? Am I a good motivator? Am I good at recruiting? Am I good at the skills, the X's and O's? Like, we all do have strengths. And so you better be able to turn kids around and flip that attitude on Friday night when things are going bad, because you got to have a plan for adversity. The old Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face, right? Is that what he said? It's pretty close to that, at least.
Yeah.
You got to have it. And if you don't,
in the mouth, I think, but it's, but something like that.
But if you don't plan for that, it will, the wheels will fall off, because you went out with a bunch of X's and O's. Oh, we're going to scheme these dudes up. Oh man, you know what I mean? They're going to crash that D and we're going to read him, pull it, GT, read, here we go. And then, like you said, your guy throws an interception. Now he's crying crocodile tears on the sideline. He can't see the defensive end through his tears to read him. So it does not matter.
Yeah, some of my best coaching friends that I've worked with have said things to me like that. They've said in a very kind of matter-of-fact way. It's one of those, it could be like the story that we talked about before we turned the camera on, where you read more into it than actually was there. But you're one of the best.
I'll tell it again in a minute.
Yeah. They'd say, you're one of the best X's and O's coaches I've ever been around. And I'm like, oh.
I mean, I suck at everything else.
Yeah, Tin Man, like, like
I had a coach that ended up not being able to work for, but he hired me to be his OC, and then things went south. And this is not the story that I was going to tell you. This is a different one. But he called me a savant, and you're like a football savant. And I was like, yeah, I like it. And I got home and I told my mother-in-law, and she was like, he called you a retard to your face. You just weren't, you're not old enough to see it. Like, you should have read more into that. He basically said, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're up here in this area. I was like, oh man. The other story, though, I'll tell it just because Bill Blankenship last summer, everybody knows I worked for Bill for a year, and I left because I was trying to get closer to home. That was the same year that my son said, Daddy, I wish you'd have never become a football coach, because he missed me. He wanted me around the house more. And it was an hour and 20 minutes over, an hour and
kids
20
ruin
minutes
everything.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Oh, it got me so bad. And now I'm, that's just the distance I'm going to have to drive to get a job in this area. That's what happens when you're an hour from everyone. But anyway, I apologize to Bill because I'd been putting in a lot of applications over the last 3 years, and he's on one of my resume. He's getting all these emails. The digital age has been one bad thing. It's that when you apply, they immediately email the same standard email to every reference, right? And so I apologized to him last year at summer clinic, and I was like, Coach, I'm so sorry that you got to fill out all these stupid things. I was like, I understand. Like, there's limited resource, and that's an understanding of mine. And he was like, oh, hell, man, you got a lot of stuff in life to apologize for, but that ain't one of them. And I walked away. Like, we finished our conversation. I didn't ask him what else I could apologize for. Coaches, I have lost sleep. I have sat around my house pondering, like, should I call him? Do I look weak if I call Bill Blankenship? Like, what are you talking about? What? I've thought way too hard on this. And then I finally got to ask him today at the little luncheon, and he was like, oh, hell, man, that's just one of those things that you don't have anything to apologize to me for. I was like, it's been 8 months. I've been losing sleep for 8 months because I thought that I'd wronged Bill Blankenship somehow. Like, so anyway, go reading too much into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
So
wasn't gonna say it online or on the podcast, but it ain't.
inside JDFB Premium Coaching Systems, when you become a member of JDFB, we have a thing called the Coach Simple process. So the Coach Simple process, you fill out kickoff registration. So as soon as you sign up for JDFB, we send you basically a survey, kickoff registration, which you fill out and you tell us about your current situation. What are the obstacles that you're facing? What are the goals that you have for your team? What's the support that you have? It's a 4 to 8 minutes, and it takes on average to fill it out. We take that and we create a kickoff diagnostic. It's called a 35-point kickoff diagnostic. We take the 35 answers that you've given us, and we create a score, 7 categories, 1 to 5 in each category, and we give your team an overall star rating. And if you're, below average, you're a 1 star or maybe a 2 star. And if you're really, really good, maybe you're a 4 star, whatever it is and that kind of thing. But we take that, and then I look at those results and I look at the things that you asked or the things that you said. And I've looked at so many of these, I can do it pretty quickly now, thankfully. But I send you a video, which we call the Roadmap to Victory video. And I talk to you about what I see and how I think we can make the biggest impact for your football program as fast as possible. And I will reference you then to the Roadmap to Victory Quick Start Guide, which is a video series inside JDFB Premium Coaching Systems on our courses page. And there's 7 videos in there that are the 7 most important things for getting started with JDFB. There's offensive and defensive. There's the Coach Simple philosophy. There's the ASCA levers. There's some things about practice planning and drill philosophy. And the last video in there combines 3 things that I think are all very important. And they're all the culture, leadership, program development type of stuff. And we have 3 tools for that. One is the squad leaders that I took from Rick Stewart. And that is our leadership element, which is a great way to establish leadership without naming captains and start building some of that leadership. The second is the priorities pyramid, which establishes a framework for character. It is a framework for decision-making for your players that I got from a coach named Chris Zablocki, who has been on the podcast years and years ago and actually emailed me because he's now doing some work with Coach Basquette. So that is something that I've had coaches, we had it up in our weight room at my last school. I had that sign made. I've had coaches tell me that they talked to their principals about it. They said, this is what I'm going to be putting in with our football program. And their principals put it all over the school and installed it with the entire student body. It is a phenomenal tool. And then the last one is another thing I took from Rick Stewart, which is the player creed. And I actually took it as a combination of Rick Stewart and Randy Jackson's Culture Defeats Strategy book. Both of them have kind of a version of this. And it is the player creed. And the player creed has basically, I took some of the ideas from Rick and then took the idea of attaching it to days from Randy Jackson. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday each have an attached core principle, core philosophy that day is focused on. And so all that's in our quick start guide. So if you're a JDFB member, it's in the quick start guide if you haven't watched it for some reason. And if you aren't a member, then you should become one and you'll get all that right up front before you do anything else. It's well worth it. You also, after that, get a one-on-one coach call with me where we get into kind of the details of your program. So in creating the expectations, there's a couple things there. The first thing is, I don't want to come in and tell you that we're going to beat everybody. I remember, and I love this coach to death, and he's still coaching. And he was real gung-ho, a little younger then. And I remember we were coming off of like 0-10 season, 1-9 seasons. It was early in my coaching career. And he was running at that time we did circuits because we had, and I would never do this now. I would do everything in my power to get out of this, but this was just what we did. So do not take this as I do not do circuits, and I do not think it's a good idea. And actually, this might not have been circuits. They might have been. I think we had circuits outside, and then we had the weight room time where they were doing the weight room. This might have been a little bit here. But anyway, I walked outside, and he had a group that was doing, I don't know, sit-ups and crunches station, right? And he was having them chanting, right? It's like, what are we going to do? And they're like, win a state title. It's like, we were 0-10. We're not. I mean, that's cool, but like, set expectations.
Realistic
expectations. And I think you do this internally and externally. You don't have to tell the kids this is who we want to beat. You don't have to, like, internally as a coaching staff, I think we always set a target. And I loved, I mentioned Ellsworth, and I worked for Coach Mike Verdon, who was a really successful football coach. And I remember one night I asked him, I said, look, I think at that point I already knew that I wasn't going to be, it was late enough to the season. I already knew that I wasn't long. I said, eventually I'm going to be a head coach. I'm probably going to go back to high school. I didn't know it was going to be so soon. I wasn't a head coach, but I was going back to high school. And I said, like, you've won everywhere you went. Like, tell me how that works. And he said, I go in and I pick out the team, takes over a team, turning a team around, wanting to win. I pick out the team that we are going to beat, and we build to beat that team. And it's an interesting thing because on the one hand, in a couple places, I mean, he won some state titles in Idaho, I think, but like he went to a school in Miami and he turned them around, but he didn't knock off and I don't know who the team that he was after there. They made the playoffs and it was a success, but he didn't like dominate the number one team in the state down there. When he came to Ellsworth, Butler County was the number one JUCO in the country. Well, he set out to be better than Butler County. He put his philosophy on, and we scrimmaged Butler County. He set up a scrimmage with Butler County, not because you can't win that scrimmage, not because he wanted to win that scrimmage, but he wanted to see where we're at. He wanted to know where are we at because they're not on the schedule. They're you would only see them in a national title game. And like I said, we finished 9th in the country. It was a huge turnaround. The program wasn't good, but the 2 years before he got there, it was a huge turnaround. But that was the mentality that he took. But I don't think he went to the players and said, we're going to beat Butler County and win a national title. I mean, there was that idea, but not right. The year that I got there, they were actually in that position. We were actually in but we were ranked third in the country at the beginning of the year. So winning a national title was a legit discussion. But I don't think it started that way. You can talk about that internally. We're building to beat X and Y, but set realistic goals. If you set unrealistic goals, and this is why I hate the goal charts. I hate the goal charts. The goal charts are they're often going to let you down because only one thing matters. And so guys will say our goals are 3 takeaways a game, 17 points or less, under 100 yards rushing. They'll set these goals. I remember we had it one couple of years, and we're getting halfway through the season. It's like we're not hitting any of these goals. It's like, well, we're 3-2,
Right.
but we're not hitting any of these goals, and it's just demoralizing. Don't be in control of the expectations. I always encourage our coaches talk about goals and goal setting. Set things that you can control, set things that you have power over, set things that actually matter. If you want, like, what is the one thing that you think you need to see more of? Well, we need to have better effort on plays. Okay. At the end of, and you can do this in practice and you can do this in games, but at the end of the game, let's say, watch the game, watch every play one time, give it a plus or a minus. Was the team effort good or was the team effort bad? And see if that number is going up. If that number is going up, you're getting better. If you want alignment to be better, if you want missed tackles, whatever it is, just give it a plus or a minus and see if that number is going up. And you can track that. But like setting, we're going to win a state title when you're 3-7. Setting the goal is to win the district championship. I'll give you an example from a school that I was at. The goal, if we had set the goal to make the playoffs, one season that team made the playoffs at 1-9, I think. One season, I think we got an 8 seed at 6-4, 7 seed at 6-4. Which one of those? So one season they got an 8 seed at 1-9. One season they got a 7 seed at 6-4. So is the goal to make the playoffs? No. When we won a playoff game, it was a great accomplishment for the program. But I'll be completely honest, the conference was down. Now it was important because sometimes you need to be down so you can break through.
That's right.
Right. But, and then you can get over that hump. But they didn't know it was going to be down when the season started. You know, we didn't know that. So setting goals that are controlled by other people, by other teams, by other situations. Setting goals that 3 games in could be dead or look dead. That's set realistic expectations. You don't have to set numbers. You don't have to set all this stuff. I love go 1-0. You know, that's for a lot of teams, go 1-0 is the best thing. And dude, when you're playing the 8-time state champion and you're coming off of an 0-10 season, man, the goal is to go in and compete. Just tell them, dudes, my guys, this team should beat the snot out of us. If they show up, if they don't stay out of the strip club until at least 6:45 p.m., drinking heavily, they should beat the snot out of us. We are going to show up and we're going to compete, and we are going to find out where we're at compared to the top.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because that's where we're at right now. This is just a chance for us to test and see. Be honest with them. Be honest with your guys. Now, you don't need to go and say, we should lose to this team by 3. That's not what I'm talking about. But if they're that much better, let's just be honest. This is the deal. This team's on the schedule. We kind of wish they weren't, but we get to see where we're at. Like, let's go do it.
Shock the
And
world,
then
baby.
we'll rebuild, right? And we'll
Right.
get ready. Like there's it's okay to do that. Yeah, you got a chance to shock the world. Like if you're 3-4 touchdowns away from a team, we got a chance to shock the world, man. Like I can see it. I can see the path. I can see the way this happens. You can set that up. Now, the other part of it is expect adversity. Go ahead and tell them from day one. So when we did our player creed, which is in the quick start guide, and it's also in my player manual that's in our resources folder in JDFB. My program manual from when I was a head coach. And you can see it. And I stole a lot of it from Rick. Rick did a great job putting that together.
Stole it all from you. So
Yep, it's fantastic. In there, so allaccesscoaching.net. Go get it from Rick. We had 5 days, and I'm not completely clear on them anymore because I haven't done it in a while, but it was like never leave anybody behind, always do your best, work together. Thursday was always expect adversity. Every Thursday, we talked about expect adversity. Expect adversity. Things are going to happen. They practice too. The ball is a weird shape. Stuff happens. Weather happens. Injuries happen. All sorts of things happen in a football season. Don't worry about it. And they will, and you have that keyword to go back to. What do we always talk about? Expect adversity, expect adversity, expect adversity. It won't fix everything, but it will smooth it out. And then on Fridays, it's always have fun because our job is over. But expect adversity. You want to preach that to them all the time.
I love it. We're talking big expectations and stuff. I'm with you. Sam is my wife, Samantha, is a big. Have you ever? I almost said this in a way wrong order. Have you ever heard of a BHAG? So one big, hairy, ambitious goal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
audacious goal. Yeah, ambitious. Yeah.
It's okay to have that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be
Absolutely.
state champions. Your very first year as a head coach, when the team was 0-10, when you got them, when you took the reins, that's supposed to be. If you ain't going out there to win it all,
Yeah.
what the hell are you in coaching for? You know what I mean? Like, go be an assistant coach that just really pumps up your group or something. I don't know. But I like what you said. You may need to internalize that if it's something that can get crushed before you ever get to district play. You know what I mean? Go undefeated. Well, guys, you're one snowstorm in Denver and the Patriots are wearing all white away from losing a game you shouldn't have lost, right? Like they wore the right color uniform because they happen to be the away team and now they get the advantage at your stadium. Like there's always one, like you said, injuries, man, especially small schools. You're one dude that he's toting a rock 42 times a game, and one of them is just a little bit too tough of a tackle and he can't get up. Now I can't be undefeated and my best guys laying on the ground. I don't know. There's some of those that are just, and some places are in different phases of life. But that's not this episode. This episode isn't how to continue your culture through year 15, right?
And I should mention, by the way, when you're playing the team that's just so much better than you, that's not the war cry all week of like, this team's going to kill us. It's like, just be honest with them at some point during the week and say like, look, they're really good. Nobody thinks we're going to beat this team, but we are going to work our butts off. Right. That's the conversation, but be honest. Don't be like, don't go out there, with the war paint on talking about like, if we don't win this one, it's all over, boys. It's like, well, you're giving yourself like
don't put yourself in the corner, right?
10,000 in this game. So
the last piece I want to say here, and I think we've been talking for a little while. Prepare for adversity from the inside too. And I don't mean your players. I'm talking about your coaches.
Very good.
We talked about the parents, the administration. There's gonna be people who don't want you to succeed for weird reasons. I still remember when a teacher walked up to Bo Collins after we were 3-2 or whatever start the season. I don't remember what it was. We weren't terrible, and said, "Where are you going to coach at next year?" And he was like, "Here." She said, "No, you're not." What? You outperform basketball at this school, buddy. You're out of here. Like, so there's always going to be that weird adversity you don't expect. And it's the worst kind when it comes from inside, right? It's like the traitor in the room catch you at two brute, right? Like, those are the ones that stink the worst. So just prepare for them. Prepare for all of it. Prepare for what? Wasn't it a college student here recently that gave his playbook to the rivals and like quit the team after the game? Like, there's always things out there.
But I was gonna, you mentioned that, but
Be
I
prepared.
was gonna say also prepare for adversity. You mentioned the coaches. That is so important because if your coaching staff has that mentality still, you come in, you took a program over, we all get gifted a couple guys.
Yeah.
When you take over that high school staff, we all get gifted a couple guys that have been in the losing tradition their whole life. They grew up there or they've been in it. You know, you've got the guy that's a carryover. You've got guys that are just super emotional on your coaching staff. Maybe you're one of them. Got to learn to control that. If they can't control that, they go up in the box because we cannot show that here we go again emotion from the coaching staff and expect the players not to do it.
For sure.
So the coaches have got to learn to expect adversity too.
That's a good point. All right, man. I think that we have checked all the boxes. Coaches, if this has helped you win with any kind of mental reps today, help someone else to kind of do the same. So if it just changed your mind or just helped you think about one little thing about trying to turn over the culture. Culture is a big buzzword anyway. There's plenty of books out there. There's plenty of resources. This is just us kind of bumping our gums about the stuff we see in a culture change. If you liked any of it, shoot it over to one of your friends, your coaching group, your coaching staff. Maybe you just took a job and it's going to be an uphill battle. Maybe this is the episode to share out to them. I want to remind you guys, we are doing the 425 clinic in Boston coming up very, very soon. When this comes out, Joe said we're within a month. I think this comes out next week. And we're 4 to 5 weeks out. So March 13, 14, it's going to be a great time. On-field install with some kids. We're going to have to go through the full 425 from the fronts and stunts and blitzes and coverages and how to just play base and win state championships, all the good stuff. So get your tickets soon. Early bird pricing ends in what I say, really 3 days, I think. If this comes out on the 12th, you've got 3 days.
14th, I think,
two.
15th.
Oh, we're doing it on the 14th?
I think it's 14th.
And you've got 2 days. Valentine's Day, baby. Tonight, we talked about changing a culture, building confidence, getting your players to buy into what you're doing, and then setting realistic expectations and preparing for all sorts of adversity. Last week, we talked about being a teacher on the football field. Next week is how many plays we should have in an offensive playbook. I'm super excited to talk about that one. We've mentioned that that was one of those we've hit a bunch of times in different variations. So it's always good to just all right, let's just talk about it. So hope you guys will jump back in for that one next week. Joe, let's do our level up.
I competed in a weightlifting competition, the first one since April. So that will be mine on Saturday, this past Saturday. Despite the weather, I had to go into the gym to train on Thursday. Couldn't get in the first 3 days of the week for various reasons. Daycare closed, that kind of stuff. Gym closed, daycare closed. But Thursday, so the deal with the weather here is that we got snow and ice, and then the ice on top of the snow, then we've had freezing temperatures ever since. And so nothing has melted and just slick. Everything, you can't walk you could not walk in it. Today was the first day. So I get to the gym Thursday and I managed to get across the street. I went at like noon so that I knew I could get in. I managed to get across the street, grab a hold of one of our coaches' truck was sitting there, and I grabbed hold of the tailgate. I was like, thank God I made it, and just kind of slid into the door and got through the workout. Got just my last workout before meet on Thursday. And then I walked out and I fell on the ice, and I fell and I did a perfect hip drop centered on my gym bag, on the softest part of my gym bag. It was beautiful. I got up. I was like, I can't believe I'm okay. That was the only time I fell this entire time. My wife has had like multiple fractures from falls at work. She's a nurse, like lots and lots of them. So it's been a thing here. So anyway, I made it in alive. Lifted Saturday morning. Made both my openers, which were good openers, good quality openers. I've kind of laid up on my openers the last few competitions. I had higher openers and then just didn't quite hit anything after that. I missed close misses on my other lifts, but got what I needed to do and registered yesterday for Masters Nationals. So I'm qualified for Masters Nationals and signed up for that. So I'll be doing my first national meet here in Salt Lake in April.
I'm juiced.
Excited for that.
That is super cool. I wish I could come out to Salt Lake and watch that. That would be so fun. Is it like high school powerlifting? Is it 3 attempts at each event?
3 attempts at each, but only 2 lifts. So the difference between powerlifting and weightlifting is powerlifting takes all day. Weightlifting takes because they do so in powerlifting, everybody squats, everybody benches, everybody deadlifts.
Yeah.
We have a flight that does snatch and clean and jerk. Takes about 2 hours and you're done. Day's over. It's a much shorter day. It's much easier than the workouts. The easiest part is the competition itself. Not the mental part, not so much, but the workout is like powerlifting. I would be so sore after a powerlifting meet, especially after like if you grind out a heavy like max deadlift at the end and you're just seizing up. I mean, I remember I was in the Hampton Roads Bay Bridge Tunnel trying to drive home after a powerlifting meet in Norfolk, and it took me 6 hours to get through this tunnel because you have one wreck and the tunnel is shut down. And season up in the car, and I was like, never again, never again, never again. Weightlifting is just like you lift, whatever, it's over. Yeah, it's much shorter, like a couple hours.
Ran my half marathon. I dealt with the seize up after that, like death.
Yeah, sure.
Death.
I can't even remember.
Speaking of running, my level up is this month. The month of February is the GWAT 100 through runsignup.com. The GWAT, obviously, the Global War on Terrorism, but they're tracking 100 miles, and there's a whole bunch of stories about Baghdad and Iraq, and it's all the global war on terrorism. So, like when I hit 2 miles and 4 miles and 8 miles, it tells little stories and compares it to a strip of road that soldiers had to walk and fight down or drive and miss IEDs or get hit by IEDs. And of course, I got to serve in that area. I said got to, like it was a thing I cherished. Oof. Anyway, luckily never had to do with any of that stuff, but I was in Baghdad at the height of the war. And so it means a little more to me. My brother was hit by a bunch of that shit and, excuse my language, saw a bunch of stuff that you don't want anybody to see, especially not an 18-year-old kid. But so anyway, it means a lot to me. But the GWAT 100 is just 100 miles. It's built around running. So like if you cycle, I think there's like a conversion chart. It's like 3 bike miles is 1 mile for the GWAT 100, but trying to get everybody the same amount of oomph. So I'm choosing to run mine. And so we got started. It started the 1st of February, which was 2 days ago, which was Sunday. So I got Sunday, Monday. You have to do 3.5 miles a day to hit the mileage. I went ahead and banked just over a mile on Sunday so that I knew my recovery day was coming. I've not ran since my half marathon, which was last July. I didn't realize it had been that long. I've ran 1 day since then, and it was a random, I feel okay, and I hated it. It broke my soul, dude. The half marathon broke my soul. I have never been
just thinking about it
so mentally broke over a physical activity in my life, and it took me this long to recuperate. Anyway, so today was a recoup day for me, and I'll just pick up the mileage later. It's not an everyday have to do thing. It's just you got to get your 100 miles through February. So I highly encourage you guys to get it. I know this comes out later, and I wish I'd have pushed this out sooner, but I still highly recommend you get in. It's all over on Twitter. I have the Coaches Fitness Connection, which is a little subgroup that I run on Twitter. Jump in there. It's like we're like 50 or 60 people deep right now. Anyway, but I'm sharing my mileage on there, and the link to join our group. Our group I named it because my son is a Spidey and His Amazing Friends fiend. Like that is on TV. It's probably on right now. So our group on there is Vets and Their Amazing Friends, and it's just growing. A lot of people in Oklahoma joined the group. We have people all over the state that are friends of ours that are running with us. So it's been a lot of fun to just watch people rack up miles these first couple of days. I'm excited about the rest of the month. I'm excited about getting back into running, because at some point I do want to run a full marathon. I have no idea why. I don't know why.
I don't either.
Maybe I'll get a couple more halves in first before I jump into a full one. Maybe not, because they might mentally break me again. At least with a full, like I'm not going to not finish. So at least I'll have the trophy, or the medal. Anyway, so that's been my one part of my love up. The other one was I started my carnivore diet-ish back. I'm really just doing keto, but as carnivore as possible. In fact, when you get away from carbohydrates, I'm doing 0 carbs for the month of February is my goal. I think a couple things I have like 1 gram of carbs or something, which is almost impossible to get away from.
Yeah.
But when you get into that, you realize you don't realize until you do that how much stuff doesn't have like cream cheese. I just assume cream cheese is loaded with carb. No, none, 0. It's just fat, butter, fat. So anyway, You can also, on that Coach's Fitness Connection, you can see my ridiculous meals. I had butter coffee the other morning because I wasn't.
Oh, I used to drink that. Yeah.
I wasn't going to eat.
I was paleo for a long time. I did that.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
paleo, keto.
Yeah. It's kind of
for about
all, it's
2019.
really close. So
About 9 years. Yeah.
So carnivore is my month of February, or no carb February is what I'm calling it. Like I said, I've had 3 grams in 3 days or something, which is basically none. So anyway, highly recommend you guys get into something. We read an article. My wife sent me an article the other day, which is I think it was a scientific paper, but I'm talking about 36 to 46 are the years that matter the most in taking care of your health. So if you're like me, I just turned 38.
Yes.
No date range
Almost
matters
double
more
mattering.
than that when you start looking at longevity of life and quality of life. When you get to the end, as long as you start turning things around by 36 to 46, you're in a good place for the longevity.
I started competing at 36, and I am about a year away from not having to care anymore. And then I'm done.
But it increases the quality of life as you.
It was a good run.
Like I said, we saw Coaches Day that were 90 years old at that luncheon, and then I've seen 50-year-old people that can't move. So like, take care of yourselves, please, guys. Please do. Anyway, that's my level up. Cool. All right, we talked all the good things there. Let's pay the bills one more time. Let's get out of here, man.
Yeah, go check out that free download at joedanielfootball.com. Download the Breaking the Losing Cycle guide. It has some of the things we talked about, some other little ideas and thoughts and things that you can try, things that you should do to turn around your losing tradition, to break through there. Just go and download that at joedanielfootball.com/breaking, or you can go to joedanielfootball.com and click the guides link at the top to see all the guides that we have there. And also, if you want to get in on that roadmap to victory that I talked about in the Coach Simple process by becoming a JDFB member, and I talked about the quick start guide and everything, you do get a personalized 35-point diagnostic, quick start video from me, quick start guide, and then a one-on-one coach call with me to get all your questions answered and make sure you have everything you need to get the most out of JDFB. When you become a member, you can do that at joedanielfootball.com/membership. So check all that out. And and the Boston clinics also, if you are in the area, you need to go.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm getting a lot of requests for online version of that. We won't have that this year, I don't think. It may be something that comes out after season kind of gets back in, or maybe closer to football season, as we can kind of turn that into a digital product. But right now, we really want you guys in the doors. Come see us. Come get the feel for it in person. See the install. Hear Joe talk about it. I think that's where the value's at. This year one is we're getting things started. Oh, I was just going to talk about Joe Daniel football tonight. I had a good coaching thing here recently. I was in the room with a bunch of really good coaches, and I talked many times about being a Joe Daniel member for, what am I going on, year 6 now or something?
Oh, yeah.
But the exponential growth in football that I got in my career because of that has paid for itself tenfold. I'm sitting in the room with a guy who's been a defensive coordinator for 30 years plus, and look, I will never say that I know as much football as him, but we can sit in a room and have conversation, and he's writing down ideas from me, right? It's not because I know anything better than him, but I have experiences and I understand football to an extent that I can say, hey, this is what we saw and this is how we fixed it. And he goes, oh yeah, that is a good idea. Or maybe it's just breaking down film or whatever it is. I cannot sing the praises of Joe Daniel football enough with the growth, the exponential growth in football that it has awarded me. So if you're a young guy and you're looking for, like, I'm sitting in rooms of guys that I can't keep up with and I can't, they're talking circles around me, this might be the way. It may not be their exact system, but it gives you a foundation for football that you can build on and you can evolve over time. So please do go to joedanielfootball.com and sign up ASAP. Sweet. Joe, what sales are opening and closing as we approach this? I think this comes out on the 12th.
Yeah, we'll have a little athletic speed and movement, I believe, will be opening up for over the weekend. And then at the end of the month, we have, I believe, offensive play caller system will be, and that goes into the how to attack the weaknesses of a defense and how to use your offensive play calls, how to play situational football instead of just looking at down and distance all the time, and really focusing on how to attack a defense, but something other than down and distance. And that's the offensive play caller system. That'll be opening up at the end of the month.
Love it. Get in on that, guys. I know we're going to talk in the next episode as well. So I hope you guys jump back in for that too. It will help you think about ball different. Get out of your 1st and 10s and 3rd and 3s and get into just more football. Social media, I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. This is a great time of year to do this, by the way. In season, sometimes I don't get back to those as quick, but now's a wonderful time to let's have that conversation. You just want to chit chat? Baby, I'm available. Let's talk ball. ChamberlainFootballConsulting.com is a website. I don't know that I've even visited this year. And of course, I got the Patreon going on. So if you really want to get some education going with graphics or recruiting or any of that other stuff, if you're X's and O's, I push you to the professionals, push you to the guys. Go to JoeDanielFootball.com and sign up. If you want help with the other stuff, just troubleshooting a play or something, holler at me. So find Patreon, find a tier that you like. If there's not one, hit me up. I'll create one for you. Where are you at, Joe?
I am at Football Info on X, but not on there a whole lot. Instagram is at Joe Daniel Football, at JDFB on TikTok. I think you're gonna find the podcast clips and stuff there. Facebook.com/Joe Daniel Football. And then email is joe@joedanielfootball.com. If you have questions about membership or anything or Boston Clinic, you can email me, joe@joedanielfootball.com. And of course, joedanielfootball.com.
Love it. Podcast is at the FBCP. If this is your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatchers, mainly Spotify and Apple Podcast. If you've been listening for a while, please leave a review, especially on those two big ones. Those really help us kind of push things out. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. And remember, coach simple, play fast, win.